The spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo are dropping in 2.5 days, and it has been 3 weeks since we've had a chapter, so to get back into it, I just want to talk about a masterpiece, Dabura vs Mahoraga, how great it's been and where it's headed. I want to get us all right back in the mood of JJK Modulo. With the anime coming out, a lot of people right now are focused on the Kalyan games, which is perfect since that's so good right now, but let's not forget how great Modulo is. With the spoilers coming out soon, let us break down and discuss Dabura vs Mahoraga, the masterpiece and Gege's next greatest fight. Be sure to leave a like on the video, it helps out so much. Thank you very much if you do, and of course subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo content just like this. If you love Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, I promise you, you will not regret subscribing, especially if you love spoiler content. And also thank you to the special grade member of the channel, Corey G. Without further ado, let's just start. So of course, I do think this is just a fantastic fight because of so many reasons. A lot of people just for some reason refuse to believe that Dabura is Honoured One level. This is something I've been talking about if you've been watching my channel since the very first chapter, and mainly after the second chapter came out. I've made countless videos on it since that second chapter. As a matter of fact, a whole video dedicated on Dabura being Honoured One level after chapter 2 came out, and I posted about it all on Twitter. Initially there was a lot of pushback because people really like Sukuna and Gojo. It's more of a fact that people just like them so much that it's an emotional reaction to them not wanting somebody to be on their level. Gojo and Sukuna are characters who have really hit hard with the fan base and have die-hard fans, so it makes sense that you don't want other characters to be their level even when the author directly tells you 20 times that this guy is on their level. And it doesn't help that Dabura isn't as eccentric as the other characters. He is very cool, his design is awesome, but he's just tired, he's bored, he's very depressed, and he's got a lot of aura, and that's because he's cool, but his personality is nothing great. But that's what I think makes him great. I think it's a very unique way to make a character who is Honoured One level. Usually we have characters like Gojo and Sukuna who walk atop of everybody, who do what they want, they are the strongest, everybody follows them, they're eccentric. So it's really cool that we see a character who's as strong as them, yet his personality doesn't reflect that at all. It's almost like his strength is a curse, but not even in the way of Gojo and Sukuna. He's just depressed and tired, and I think it makes him such a fantastic iteration of an Honoured One character, and I love seeing that in JJK Modulo. I think Gege really went down a unique path. You know, he could have just gone down another crazy character like Sukuna and Gojo, who's got a crazy personality and is the strongest and is just an aura farmer, but I really like that Gege decided to go down this route and give us this part, because he's not a bad guy, he's not an evil guy. Even Gojo was often portrayed as a jerk or even evil depending on who was talking about him. He was always portrayed as a very selfish guy. Even when he died, Haibara and Nanami kept saying, you know, you were selfish, they said at the airport scene, and everyone usually says that about Gojo, even though I don't think it's true. I don't think Gojo is a selfish character, but that's just what people see him as in the verse. Dabura is far from that. I mean, he literally, just to protect his own sister, became a slave on his own home planet, forced to obey the chieftain, and even when he traveled to another planet, he's basically just the babysitter of all the Lumilians. He's a great character, and that's what makes Mahoraga versus Dabura so interesting. This isn't like when Sukuna was fighting Mahoraga, where it was just an awesome fight where Sukuna just wanted to go all out, and it was just basically a toy for him, or Gojo versus Mahoraga as well, which was more of a death fight because Mahoraga was a tool against Gojo by Sukuna. This is genuinely just Dabura fighting because he has to. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do any of this. He doesn't want to fight Mahoraga or Yuka or the Earthlings. We see countless times he hates that the Kalyans are once again becoming a problem, but he just does it out of a promise he made. Dabura, even when we saw him in the flashback, had to listen to other people. He never really got to do what he wanted, and even now that hasn't changed. He's forced to do this because the Lumilians are telling him, we want to protect the cursed spirits, you're gonna have to go out there and fight for our honor. He doesn't want to do any of this, so that's what makes this just interesting. Dabura as a character makes Mahoraga versus Dabura very cool. Now of course the fight starts off and we see Ui talking to Dabura. This is a very cool scene, not just because we get to see Ui, but we see Dabura doesn't even really care about Ui and the speech he's saying and everything. All he says is, unfortunately I can't show you anything about an opponent, and unless they are truly worthy, it will be over before they can see a thing. It's interesting how Dabura says unfortunately or sadly, depending on which translation you're reading. The point is, he just seems very lonely. It even zooms in on a shot of his eyes and he just seems dejected from everything, and he just seems, again, lonely. And it even goes back with Ui saying, not to worry, I think you'll be satisfied, and I am sure your loneliness will be eased. I'm reading the Viz translations on my screen, but I'll be showing you the Ragnarok scans or TCB scans on your own screen, just so you can have an idea of all translations. So if what I'm reading is not as accurate as the screen, that's why I want to get all the translations for you guys. And then of course we see the cancer-ridden girl Yuka Akotsu come down saying, I'm sorry sorry Dabura, which again, very interesting way. I've never seen anyone summon Mahoraga starting with that, I'm sorry. Megami, when he summoned Mahoraga against Haryuta, still one of the funniest moments in JJK. It was basically a middle finger towards him. Sukuna using it against Yorozu, it was just a test and a toy. And of course, when he used it against Gojo, it was to kill him. It's really interesting how someone starts off summoning Mahoraga with an apology. Of course, she's got the classic pose, just a beautiful double page spread, swapped into the next scene with Mahoraga attempting to kill her as well. A very awesome moment, just reminding us that Mahoraga is out to kill everybody. He wants to throw hands with everybody. He's got the smile on him always, something I love about Mahoraga. He just seems excited to fight anybody. There's even that meme in the community where Mahoraga had adapted to the fraud allegations because he's never really won a fight, yet everyone thinks he's the coolest. And of course, Mahoraga is standing there with a massive grin. One of the craziest moments. I remember when the spoilers for this came out, I couldn't believe what I was reading. Genuinely, I just couldn't believe it. It was even hard to contain my own excitement because it was that crazy. I actually had my finals for my university exam for this semester, and I didn't even care about my exam. I still aced it. I got like full marks, but any anxiety I had for that test just completely vanished because I was excited about this chapter that came out. I remember even as I took the test, I didn't really care. I was like, I got everything right. I just solved it and went home and recorded that spoiler video. That's just how crazy this was. And of course, Dabura already is above Mahoraga as Mahoraga is spawned, showcasing his immense speed, activating his technique, lighting the city ablaze. And we see these light sticks are right there. This of course is a very cool reference to D. Greyman right here. A lot of people missed it, including myself. Only recently I saw somebody posted on Twitter that this is actually a reference to D. Greyman. And of course we have Dabura's curse techniques are blank and light. The blank technique is basically murderous intent that can be materialized and has weight, and of course his light technique is light, and Mahoraga for the first time is trying to adapt to an alien's technique. We don't really know if Dabura is using a combination of his blank technique with his light and that's what makes his light so deadly, or if he just hasn't even used his second technique yet. We also don't really know if it's two separate techniques or if it is the same technique. Official translators and some of the best out there, like Lightning for example, are saying these are two separate techniques, which is really cool, meaning it could be possible we haven't even seen the full extent of Dabura yet. Now to continue, I'll read the rest from TCB since they have the best translations. A legacy of the once mighty Zenin clan, the 10 Shadows technique, a curse technique that manifests Shikigami through shadows. At present, it stands forbidden under the decree of the Gojo clan. Akoto Yuko alone was granted special use, permitting her to use some of the powers of her Shikigami. And as we see that she can actually manifest her technique using it through her own abilities. Now, we saw Sukuna do this with the Max Elephant, and we've seen this only with Sukuna. It's very impressive that Yuka can do this because Gojo himself said that to manifest a Shikigami's technique through yourself, that actually takes level on Gojo and Sukuna. Like, he literally says the fact that Sukuna can do this means he's on my level in terms of skill. This doesn't mean Yuka is as strong as Gojo and Sukuna, of course she isn't, but what it means is in terms of skill, she is actually on Gojo and Sukuna's level. This isn't the first time we've seen this. We saw this once with Higuruma, where Sukuna just saw him use it, and his raw talent and skill, as was even said by the narrator, is on Gojo's own level, thus on Sukuna's own level. So it's very interesting. Yuka is a talent on the level of Gojo, Sukuna, and Higuruma. And of course, a very cool page of 8-handled sword Divergent Sealer Divine General Mahoraga, the only one among the 10 shadows deemed impossible to tame, a fact that held true for every sorcerer throughout history, apart from the king of curses, Ryomen Sukuna, incarnated within the body of Megami Fushiguro. This shadow was only manifested for the sole purpose of dragging one's opponent that was bound within its range of the X ritual down with it. The pair trapped within the X ritual this time, one is Akotsu Yuka, the other is Dabura. Interesting second name, Mr. Alien. With Akotsu Yuka currently in suspended animation, the ritual only ends with the death of Dabura Karabra or the destruction of Mahoraga, making her death a certainty. While it says here that regardless of the outcome of who wins, Mahoraga or Dabura, Yuka will die, it is interesting that if there is a third party who nullifies the ritual, as Tsurugi later says, then yes, she can actually be saved in this case. So if Yuji kills Mahoraga and nullifies the ritual, or Dabura leaves the planet, which he probably won't do, or even Tsurugi and Rika one-shot Mahoraga, which is crazy if that could do that, but that would actually save Yuka's life. So we see Mahoraga's wheel spin, meaning he's adapted, and of course this is evident by the fact that he bites the light, something that shouldn't be possible, yet he does. Instantly he goes to blitz Dabura, but Dabura very easily, and I mean very easily, reacts to it, blocks the attack, and blocks the kick as he's sent flying back. Now, there's a lot of misunderstandings of people thinking Dabura was bleeding because there's dirt flying around. I'll show you pages here, but throughout Modulo's general art art style. When Gege, or I guess specifically I should say Yuji the artist, draws just dirt and debris going flying, he always draws these little dots everywhere. We even see when characters just simply clash their swords, no blood being drawn, just clash or destroy debris, there's a trillion little dots there. So a lot of people misunderstood and thought maybe this means it's blood, but it's not at all. It's just simply little dots. And we know this because when we see Dabura in the next page and every page after this, there is not even a scratch or even a roughed up mark on it. It genuinely looks like he took 5 showers all back to back, got his makeup done with a modeling agency, and is about to walk on a runway. This man looks stunning. He looks fine with not a single scratch on him. So when people say he took damage, he just simply didn't. Mahoraga tries to blitz him. It's a very cool page where he runs behind him. Dabura is of course fully aware, turns around and already has his attack charged. Mahoraga's smiling. Awesome. I just love seeing Mahoraga fight. And this panel is my favorite of all of Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo so far. Yes, it's not a double page spread or anything crazy, but I just love how it's drawn. It's incredible. I mean, Yuji is a fantastic artist. Genuinely, just insane. He charges it like it's a Kamehameha or something, blasts, and we see it go through buildings, showing us the sheer destruction. And this is only one small angle of this shot. We don't get the full picture. God knows how destructive this was. A casual, no-named attack of him just charging his light in a nanosecond and firing it off. He can basically do what Ryu Ishiguro does at max output, far stronger than Ryu, far greater than Ryu, far more destructive than Ryu, far more destructive. And it being Ryu Ishiguro's greatest attack that he needs so much time to charge, he does in an instant, in a second, and it's stronger, faster, bigger, and far more destructive. And Ryu Ishiguro is someone who gave Yuta an extremely hard time, just showing us that Dabura genuinely is on another level. I mean, he destroyed part of Mahoraga's body and his arm. Mahoraga, once again, the wheel adapts. And of course, I already made a whole video explaining Mahoraga's adaptation. Mahoraga basically adapts with each single wheel turn. However, depending on the complexity of a technique, it will need more times for the wheel to spin to do a complete adaptation. If it hasn't done a complete adaptation, it means it can be killed by said technique. Once its adaptation is fully complete, it means he's completely immune, but his adaptation actually doesn't stop. He does keep adapting, and we saw this when Mahoraga had fully adapted to the infinity, but he was still in the process of learning another adaptation because Sukuna simply asked him to do it. So even though Mahoraga himself bypassed and could turn off the infinity, he kept on adapting and adapting until he found a new method, the world cutting method, which is what Sukuna wanted and copied. So it's important to note, we don't know if Mahoraga has done a full cycle of adaptation against Dabura's technique. The fact that Dabura can still damage Mahoraga and destroy parts of him means maybe Mahoraga hasn't fully adapted, but we saw this when Mahoraga was turned to ash against Sukuna's domain. Even after he fully adapted to it, he just simply regenerates it. Meaning, yes, we don't know if he's fully adapted yet. It could be possible he is fully adapted to the light, and all of these extra spins are just him adapting more and more further until he can reach a point where he can just kill Dabura. Or it could be possible he hasn't even finished his adaptation cycle yet, but he should be close, considering the fact that Sukuna said that Gojo only needed 5 spins for his complex technique per specific use of what Gojo is using. For example, Unlimited Void was 5 spins to adapt, Infinity was a few more spins, it was 5 or 6 around there. We don't know how complex this light is, if it's just simple light or if it's something more deeper than that. These 4 spins either should be enough, or at the bare minimum he would only need 1 or 2 more spins, which is why I do believe that his blank technique that maybe he's been using this whole time, maybe he hasn't, but if he hasn't been using it, that is going to be the key to killing. Dabura throws a chunk of a building at him and Mahoraga just flexes his muscle, a genuine flex, crushes it, and right here is an awesome thing. So we see Dabura is in a very unfortunate position because at least when Sukuna fought Mahoraga, he was aware of what Mahoraga's deal may be because he's fought cursed spirits who were similar with similar abilities. For example, the Yamato and Orochi apparently had a very similar adaptation to Mahoraga, something along those lines, and that allowed Sukuna to figure it out quicker. The problem is, Dabura has never fought anything like this. They don't even know summoning spirits and Shikigami can even exist. He literally says, as he's fighting Mahoraga who's on his 3rd or 2nd wheel turn, summoning spirits, this must be unique to Earth's cursed energy system, just like the cursed spirits. Rather than even trying to figure out Mahoraga's ability, he is still stuck on the fact that what the hell is a Shikigami? He'd imagine you're a sorcerer and someone just summons this random being against you. He doesn't know what a Shikigami is, so he's at a disadvantage even more so than Sukuna was. Rather than even figuring out the technique, he's just trying to figure out what the hell is this thing? They can just summon these creatures like cursed spirits? How do they even do this? I guess this is the unique to them. By the time he even starts to think, wait, this guy is adapting to my techniques, it's already too late because Mahoraga has adapted so much. And you can see in his thoughts here, assuming it's not an indestructible doll, there has to be something more to it, and a beautiful representation of their speed where there's rubble falling around them, they both vanish. They move so fast that that it doesn't even leave a trace or a sound of anything, and even the rubble is uninterrupted, and just going to show how fast it is, because the rubble, if you very, and I mean zoom in closely, you can see all of the rubble has actually moved an inch. All of it's moved an inch to the left, some of it not even having moved at all, but if you look closely, most of the rubble has moved maybe a centimeter or two to the left, showcasing how fast they're moving. In the next page, they blitzed across the city on a skyscraper with Dabura activating his technique reminiscent of Sukuna in the anime when he used his cleaviness mantles. Even Gege later does this with Sukuna in the manga during the Shinjuku showdown, instantly eviscerating Mahoraga and actually fully killing him. However, unfortunately, Mahoraga had already adapted well enough, because he instantly heals from this, the wheel turns, and Dabura proceeds to completely eviscerate him using a beam coming from his feet, making an insane light show, just a phenomenal one, creating an aurora of light in the sky, leveling the whole city. And then Dabura realizes, is it getting used to my technique? The way it resurrects each time the wheel spins. And of course, the sacred treasure of the Zenin clan, Divergent Sealer Divine General Mahoraga's power adapting to any and all phenomena. The ultimate counter move, similar to what was said in Shibuya. A beautiful page as they're floating up and actually falling down, we can tell because Mahoraga and Dabura's clothes are going downwards, the wind's pushing it up. Either A, the rubble from the ground is creating a wind draft pushing it up, or B, they're actually just falling down, since neither of them should have the ability to fly. In any case, it's really raw. And that is the beautiful recap of Dabura vs Mahoraga. Genuinely so far a masterpiece, and I cannot wait to get more of this. I do hope the next chapter, spoilers, continues with this. As cool as Rika and Maru has been, we didn't get to see any of this last chapter, so it's actually been over a month since we've seen this fight happen. I just hope we get back into this, but please leave a like on the video. It does help out, it pushes out. Thank you so much if you leave a like, and of course subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo content just like this. These spoilers will be coming out in 2.5 days, so if you don't want to miss it, make sure you're subscribed with the notifications turned on. But hey, that's all from me. Have a wonderful day everyone, and take care.